She went for a quiet morning run across the empty metal ruins of an abandoned colony. But what she found there was not silence. Hidden behind rusted machinery was a tiny, scaled creature with eyes like shimmering stars, trembling and alone, its breath shallow, its body scorched as if someone had tried to erase it from existence. And when she stepped back, it staggered after her on shaking legs, choosing her as its only hope. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The morning run through the old service corridor was Lena's ritual. She liked the low thrum of the Terra turbines and the faint smell of metal warmed by sun. On New Eden, where air had only recently become kind to human lungs, the district was a museum of what it took to make a world livable. She ran past rusted ladder cages, patched conduits, and the long shadows of recycled towers. That was when she heard it. Not a cry, not a roar, something thin and stubborn between the two, like a whistle that had been bruised. The sound snagged her breath mid-stride. She slowed, listening. There it was again, higher this time, with a tremble that sounded like fear learning to speak. Lena followed the sound behind a tall recycling column where steam drifted in slow sheets. There, between two gray bins, was a small shape. It was about the size of a house cat, but its skin was not skin. Tiny scales shifting from slate to blue, the way a shallow river shifts when clouds move. It had 4 legs that ended in neat, precise claws, a tail long as its body, and folded wings like thin glass wrapped in shadow. Its eyes were not the eyes Lena expected. They were bright silver and much too wise for something so small. "Hey," she said, because words were all she had. The creature answered with that bruised whistle. Lena saw the shallow rhythm of its chest, the way each breath worked hard, like climbing a steep hill. She saw scorched edges along one wing, and a dark smear that smelled of acid instead of smoke. Her mouth went dry. Acid meant intent. Acid meant someone had tried to make this small life vanish. Every rule she knew stepped forward in her head. Endangered species rules. Report immediately. Keep distance. Wait for officials. The right choice. The safe choice. The choice that wouldn't tangle her future. She took one step back. The creature took one step forward. Not fast, not fierce. Wobbly. Like it had decided that whatever she was a hill worth climbing. It followed when she edged away, tripped, got up, tried again. That quiet determination cracked something open in her. "No, little one," she whispered, and then she heard how false that sounded. She looked at the wing again, at the acid scar lines, and thought of whoever had stood over this gentle thing and poured harm. Lena dropped to a knee and offered her hand, palm down. The creature leaned its face into her fingers and made a soft trill, like a question. It weighed almost nothing when she lifted it. In her jacket, it tucked its head against her collarbone and warmed her skin with gentle breaths. The run home felt longer than any long run she had taken. A maintenance drone stared as she passed. A camera bulb blinked near a door. She kept walking, heart quick and light. In her small apartment, she set the creature in the bathtub. The tub felt safe. It had edges. She tried not to think of the law while she opened her console. She needed facts. Juvenile winged natives, diet, care. She skimmed pages with cold fingers. The facts were simple and heavy. Critically protected, intelligent species, strict penalties for harm or trade. Food options existed. Soft proteins, warm water mixed to a gentle slurry. Hope lived there. A soft sound called her back to the bathroom. The creature had climbed out somehow and pressed against the door. Hungry, she guessed, though hunger is a word too small for the desperate sound it made. She warmed a bowl of rich protein, thinned it, and lowered it to the floor. It tried and missed, tried again and missed. Lena dipped a finger and offered that. The small tongue rasped like fine sand, cautious and grateful. 20 minutes later, the bowl was half empty, and the little body looked rounder, steadier. The silver eyes blinked slow. Someone knocked hard. "Hart, you better not be keeping unauthorized pets," came Mr. Kane's voice, through the door. He loved rules more than he loved neighbors. Lena's heart jolted. "Just a documentary, Mr. Kane," she said, too bright. "Birds with strange calls." Silence, then reluctant footsteps away. She let herself breathe again. The small creature curled against her. She knew she needed help from someone who understood injuries and also understood trust. She called Joel. Joel answered with sleepy hair and quick worry. When he arrived, he stood still for a long breath, then knelt and looked at the wing. "Chemical burns," he said softly. "Someone tried to erase this little one." "What do I do?" Lena asked. Joel looked at her, then at the creature. The creature met his gaze and reached one paw toward his sleeve like a child asking for balance. That was the moment the choice hardened into a promise. "First, food and medicine," Joel said. "Then we figure out why anyone would hurt something so gentle." Outside, a camera bulb blinked again. Somewhere, a watcher watched. Lena noticed, and her jaw set. She didn't say it out loud, but the promise was there. As long as she could help it, this small life would not be erased. The creature trilled, softer now, and tucked its tail around her wrist as if to say, "I choose you." Lena smoothed a finger over a blue-gray scale. "Then I choose you too," she whispered, "for as long as it takes." The next days folded into quiet routines. Lena woke early, warmed gentle meals, and learned how to hold the bowl so the little one could eat without missing. Joel brought a small kit and treated the wing with soft pads and a steady hand. The creature watched every move, eyes bright with attention, as if learning how care was done. They began to call the little one Maru, after a river on old maps that changed color with the sky. Maru learned quickly. It figured out how to press the bathroom latch with a careful claw. It rearranged the cleaning bottles under the sink into a tidy curve, then sat in the curve like a proud artist. When Lena rolled a ball across the floor, Maru changed the angle of its push each time, then nudged the ball beneath a cup and tracked it like a game. "That's not ordinary infant behavior," Joel said, tapping notes into his handheld. His eyebrows pulled together. "I think Maru's neural development is accelerating." "Someone did this on purpose," Lena said. The words came out like a truth that had been waiting to be said. Joel hesitated, then nodded. "There's talk in field channels about a group calling itself the Helix Circle. Old funding, secret projects, the belief that uplifting animal minds could push humanity forward. It's rumor, but the kind that leaves fingerprints. If Helix hurt Maru," Lena said, "they won't stop because we wish it." They lowered their voices around the windows. They kept the curtains closed during shift changes. Mr. Kane listened in the hallway sometimes, so Lena kept a kettle hissing to cover small sounds. Still, watchers found them. Joel spotted a man across the street who stood too still for too long. A maintenance drone paused near Lena's door and did not pretend it was cleaning. That evening, the fear crept close. Maru paced, tail low, wings tucked, making a thin sound that sounded like it didn't know where to live in the throat. Lena sat on the floor and held her breath, trying to keep herself calm so Maru might borrow the calm. Then something strange happened. The room felt soft, as if the edges of objects were gently blurred. Sound from the hallway faded. Even the humming light in the kitchen dimmed. Maru pressed its forehead to Lena's wrist, and the whole apartment seemed to step sideways from notice. Joel arrived during that hush and stood in the doorway, blinking. "What did you do?" "Why?" he asked softly. Lena shook her head. "Not me." They both looked at Maru, who looked pleased and tired at the same time. "An attention bend," Joel said, choosing words that would not scare the air. "Not invisibility, something like a lullaby for the senses." He smiled at Maru. "You're remarkable." The next morning, Maru tried sounds on purpose. It made a string of whistles and clicks with rhythm in them, then pointed at its own chest with the tip of its tail. Lena tried to copy the pattern. Her attempt was clumsy. Maru tilted its head, tried again, slowed the notes as if she were a student. After a few tries, Lena reached something close. Maru trilled, delighted, and thumped its tail once against the rug. The pattern felt like a name, not human syllables, but identity, bright and simple. They still needed safety beyond cleverness. Joel said the watchers had multiplied. He had counted 3 the previous night, and a van that lingered without lights. "We can't stay," he said. "Outpost Sparrow is still standing. It never made the official map. If we can reach it, we can breathe." Mr. Kane chose that moment to knock again. "Hart," he said through the door. "I heard chirping." Lena swallowed her scare and smiled into her voice. "Learning recordings for work," she said. "Bird calls from the coast." Silence stretched. Then his footsteps retreated like a tide. Lena let herself breathe again, slow. They packed quietly. Lena took soft squares of fabric, the medicine. The little bottle, rigged with a tube, protein paste, and the tiny toy ball Maru liked to chase. Joel loaded a plain utility transport with ordinary crates that hid the important ones. Maru watched, eyes bright, as if measuring each step and approving the plan. They left before dawn, the sky the soft color of unripe fruit. The streets were empty. The utility transport hummed, like someone whispering. Lena held Maru close in a blanket, and Maru held her sleeve the way small hands hold. The city fell behind, a grid of careful lights shrinking into a memory. Their road bent toward a low ridge and the dark nerves of old mines. Outpost Sparrow waited beyond, the kind of place that forgets the sound of footsteps. "We'll be okay," Lena said, and knew it was a promise she would work for with all the hours she was given. Outpost Sparrow looked like 3 metal shells leaning on each other for comfort. Its paint was the color of dust and old thumbs, and the wind had learned how to sing through its seams. Inside, though, Joel had made care into furniture. A small galley hummed contentment. A medbay stood in quiet readiness, and a lab waited with instruments that had been cleaned so often they gleamed like patient stars. Maru stepped in with the careful curiosity of a guest. It circled the main room, lifted each paw higher than needed as if measuring the floor, then hopped into a corner and arranged its tail neatly. Lena set down a soft bedroll and Maru climbed onto it, then off it, then on again, deciding. Finally, Maru made a sound that meant good enough. The days that followed were busy in a way that felt right. Lena repaired a cracked filter for the air scrubbers and patched a leaky seal. Joel monitored Maru's wing, changed pads, and measured progress in small wins. Maru, for its part, learned. It watched levers and bolts, tried tools with careful claws, and rearranged washers by size and shine. It learned to nudge a wall panel open by pressing in 2 places at once. When Lena rolled the old ball across the floor, Maru changed strategies mid-roll to reach it faster, then hit it and signaled for the game to begin again. One afternoon, Maru made a sequence of notes with a steady beat and touched its chest. Lena tried to mirror the pattern, and the little one met her with delightful approval. The pattern wasn't a word, not in her mouth, but she felt what it carried. "Hello, I'm here. I'm myself." She tried a new pattern to say, "I am Lena." Maru listened, adjusted her rhythm with a small correcting chirp, then trilled, satisfied. Joel sent a secure packet to his quiet contact, Director Halima Rowe of the Colonial Ethics Council. He sent clear images of Maru solving tasks, video of Maru initiating name patterns, and data from the med scans that showed unusual neural brightness. If anyone would believe them, it would be Rowe, who had a reputation for guarding small lights from big winds. On the fourth evening, the quiet broke. Joel was running a system test when his screen flashed a proximity alert. 3 vehicles, heading fast, no lights. A van parked itself in shadow on the ridge. Another idled near a cut road, blocking an easy path out. The third rolled toward the station's old service door. "Helix," Joel breathed. "They found us." Lena felt the fear climb her spine, but kept her voice steady. "We go north to the mining cuts," she said. "Then we hide." She strapped the small kit to her back, scooped Maru up, and nodded once to Joel. He glanced at the window at the incoming lights, then at her, then at Maru. "I'll slow them," he said. "You run." "Not without you," Lena said. Joel shook his head. "I'll be right behind. Go." The first concussive thump shook dust from the rafters, more noise than damage, but enough to hurry their feet. Lena slipped out the rear panel, feet skimming the packed ground. Maru pressed close under her jacket. The night air felt thin. The second thump came closer, and lights scribbled the ground behind them. They ran toward black mouths in the rock, where old miners had left a map, only the stone remembered. Inside, the dark folded around them. Lena ran by feel, one hand along the wall, the other keeping Maru close. Voices behind were muffled by stone, then sharpened by echo. Lights swept past like curious birds. Maru went still in her arms, muscles tight, eyes wide. The air around them softened again, that gentle hush that blurred edges and quieted intent. Lights slid over their alcove without catching. Footsteps clattered by. Voices tangled, irritated, then dimmed into distance. They waited, still, counting slow. When the silence felt honest, they picked their way back. Outside, dawn was unfurling shy color over the ridge. A craft with government markings stood near the outpost, and people in calm jackets moved with calm purpose. Joel stood beside a tall woman with bright, careful eyes. He lifted a hand in relief when he saw Lena and Maru. "Lena," he called, "this is Director Halima Rowe." The woman stepped forward, her gaze taking in Maru, the wing, Lena's worried shoulders, and the scene. "We received the data," she said softly. "You did right to send it." She nodded toward the ridge. "We've had a word with your uninvited guests. They're leaving now, and we are beginning a formal inquiry." Maru peeked from Lena's jacket and made a soft note that carried both fatigue and interest. Rowe lowered herself to Maru's height without ceremony. "Hello," she said gently. "You are safe for now. We will make that safety official." Lena felt her knees loosen. For the first time in days, the air around her did not hum with watchfulness. Maru blinked up at Rowe, then at Lena, then made a small pattern of sounds that Lena had learned to hear as trust. "We'll move to secure quarters," Rowe said, "and if Maru can show reasoning in a controlled setting, I'll place a new kind of protection on the table." Her eyes warmed. "Citizenship, if we can prove sapience." Maru rested its head against Lena's wrist, as if to say, "Whatever comes, I am with you." The hearing took place in a bright hall with soft walls, so every voice could be heard without effort. People filled the benches, some curious, some doubtful, most simply quiet. Rowe sat at the front with the council panel. Helix sent careful lawyers with careful suits, their faces made of polished calm. Lena stood beside Maru, who had grown in a handful of weeks, now the size of a medium dog with stronger wings and a steadier gaze. Joel adjusted the small collar display that held Maru's permit and a touchpad adapted for claws. Maru's silver eyes reflected the hall lights like chips of morning. A council member cleared her throat. "We are here to consider the status of the being identified as Maru. Is Maru property, as the Helix Circle claims?" She let the words sit for a beat, then continued. "Or is Maru a person under our protections?" A Helix lawyer spoke first, laying out claims in clean lines. Funding, material, research, ownership. Then Rose stood and showed the simple videos. Maru arranging tools by function. Maru choosing the correct cup every time after complex shuffles. Maru initiating a name pattern with a steady beat and adjusting Lena's attempt with gentle patience. The hall softened. Curiosity bent toward care. "Maru will now present," Rose said. Maru climbed a small ramp to a platform built that morning. It sat with its tail wrapped neatly. It made the tone pattern that meant greeting, then touched its chest. The sound had grown clearer with practice. A musical strand that meant, "I am Maru." "Can you tell us what you want?" Ro asked, keeping her voice easy. Maru looked at the touchpad and drew a simple set of shapes, then used whistles and clicks to mark them as a sentence. Lena translated because that felt right. Maru wants safety. Maru wants to learn. Maru wants to help. A Helix lawyer stood. "Impressive mimicry," he said. "This is advanced conditioning, not thought." Maru lifted its head and made a longer string of notes. It used the touchpad to build a simple logic puzzle and then solved it 3 different ways in clear steps. It tapped a screen to bring up a drawing it had made. 3 figures, 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 small with wings, holding lines that joined at the center. Beneath, it added a small symbol that meant chosen. Rose's voice was soft. "Maru, who is this?" Lena didn't translate. Maru pressed its paw to the small winged figure. It looked at Lena and made a tiny sound that had become their private word for family. The hall went still in that good way a forest goes still when a new bird arrives. The judge panel returned after a short recess with faces that had made a decision. "Maru is a person under law," the lead judge said. "Maru is granted full protection and the right to grow, learn, and live. Dr. Lena Hart is recognized as guardian. The Helix Circle's claim is dismissed. Investigations into harm and trafficking will proceed." The hall breathed out. Maru stood and spread its wings, not loud, not for show, just wide enough to hold a piece of air and make it feel held. Lena's eyes blurred. Joel laughed a quiet, relieved laugh. Months unfolded like new pages. Maru grew into a strong adolescent with wings that could carry a careful glide. It learned to send a warm, safe line of plasma along metal seams, welding frames for shelters. It loved helping search teams find hikers who had taken wrong turns among the ridges. It learned to read children's books, then field manuals, then gentle philosophy. It learned to draw and made pictures of rivers that changed color like its scales. The colony changed with Maru. People waved. Kids asked bright questions. Mr. Kane brought a potted plant one afternoon and cleared his throat for a long time before saying, "Welcome to the building, Maru." Maru, who understood kindness even when it wore a stiff jacket, touched the plant with its nose and made a note that sounded like a smile. 1 year after the first morning, the Colonial Academy asked Maru to speak at a graduation. Maru stood at a podium built to hold weight and looked over a room full of faces like rising suns. Lena sat in the front row between Joel and Director Rowe, hands folded tight and heart wider than she knew it could be. Maru began with its name pattern, then spoke in careful tones, shaped by practice and a little technology. "A year ago," Maru said, "I was hungry and afraid. Someone had chosen harm for me. Then someone else chose care. Lena saw a small life and decided it mattered. Joel kept hurt from growing. Director Rowe opened a door made of law, so I could walk through as myself." The hall softened again. Maru continued, "People argue about what makes a person. Is it words? Is it tools? Is it numbers arranged in neat lines? I think it's something simpler. It is the choice to see another being and say, 'You are not a thing. You are a someone.'" Maru paused, looking at Lena. "I am here because someone chose me. Now I choose every day to help others be seen." The applause began like gentle rain and gathered into a bright storm. Maru stepped down, folded its long neck, and gently hugged Lena with warm wings. "Thank you," it whispered, the tone clear and bright. "For what?" Lena asked, laughing through tears. "For seeing the real me," Maru said, "before I knew how to say I was here." That night they stood on the roof, where soft winds liked to talk to bare rails. The stars over New Eden looked close enough to touch. Maru had grown large, but its eyes were still silver bright. "Want to see the sunrise above the cloud lid?" it asked, tail drawing a quiet curve in the air. "I have practiced carrying a passenger." "Is it safe?" Lena asked, pretending to frown. Maru grinned the way only Maru could, gentle and sure. "Trust me," it said. "You taught me how." "Deal," Lena said. "But if you wobble, you're grounded." They both laughed at that small joke that held a whole world of love. As they planned the morning flight, Maru spoke of new work. "There were 12 eggs," it said softly. "I was the only one the helix circle kept this long. I want to help build a real program. Open, kind, careful, so no being is ever treated like a secret again." Lena nodded. "We'll do it together," she said. They stood side by side, a human and a dragon under a friendly sky, dreaming a future where small lives would always find a hand held out, where science would walk with kindness, and where chosen family would be the truest law. Somewhere below, the colony settled for the night. Somewhere above, dawn waited for the right moment. "No regrets?" Maru asked. "Not one," Lena said. "Best morning run I ever took." She leaned against warm scales, and Maru made a quiet sound that held contentment and promise. The night felt like a door just beginning to open, and they were ready to step through together.